elevate. They stacking up losses, I'm handing them out, yeah, I had to go delegate. It feel like I'm floating, I'm lost in the moment, I swear I couldn't levitate. They never believed that I would really fly, I had to go demonstrate. I had to set them straight. When you elevate, they stacking up losses, I'm handing them out.
What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of the Mindset Cafe podcast. As always, it's your boy Devan, and today we got actually my special friend Eric Rowell. Today, he's a serial entrepreneur. He is the founder or co-founder, alongside his wife, with Grit and Grind Coffee, mobile coffee. We'll dive into some of that stuff. They also have a podcast that they host, The Grit Behind the Grind, as well as he's in some real estate and some consulting and stuff as well. But bringing him on today, he's faced a lot of the struggles that you are either facing or are going to face as an entrepreneur. So alongside that, he is an avid workout, connoisseur. I see him posting his workouts daily at 4 a.m., 5 a.m., hitting the cold plunge with his wife. So everything with that being said, Eric, thank you so much for coming on today.
Yeah, man, I appreciate you having me. We've been, talking about this for about a year. You actually put me on getting started on the whole podcast game. And I think after that time we met you in Dallas, it was like, me and Destiny, we were on the plane flying back. And it was like, bro, Devan, give us all this insight. And I think this is going to be a really cool project. And we hit the ground running. So, it was definitely kudos to you, man. I appreciate you kind of putting me on that. You've always been really super helpful. Anything that I need, kind of giving me some guidance. So thanks, man.
No, of course, bro. I mean, that's how it works, right? That's what having a network of like-minded individuals, is all about. I mean, we connected in Dallas in back last year, and we even got a workout in together at the local Cowboy Fitness or something like that. Yeah. So let's start off with how did your entrepreneurial path start? Like, what were you doing before it? What led you to change, into becoming an entrepreneur?
Yeah, so I like to jokingly tell everybody that it was my wife. She drugged me into this project. But however, I started back in, just like most entrepreneurs, middle school, high school. It's like you always have this little side hustle at school, whether it's selling candy or cars. For me, it was Craigslist. Like I would just find joy in looking for things to buy on Craigslist cheap and then bringing them back home, refurbishing them or whatever the case may be, and then flipping them. So that's kind of how I made some of my bread and butter, during my teenage years. But as I got to become an adult, I was like, man, I want some more security. I want to have a job to where I know what kind of paycheck that I'm getting, just that what society tells you you're supposed to have. So I was just kind of going with the grain, kind of went into occupational health and safety. And the way I got into it, I was doing construction work. And while I was doing this construction job, I see this guy, he's walking around. The dude's doing nothing but writing on his clipboard. And while he's writing on his clipboard, I'm talking to another buddy of mine and I'm like, man, what's his job? Oh, that's the safety guy. He makes more than all of us. And I'm like, oh, I want to be the safety guy, So I went back to school and kind of got my degree in occupational health and safety. And I did that for about 10 years until my wife, she is that type of personality that she does not like authority, right? So if you tell her that, hey, let's go ahead and grab the clothes out of the washing machine, she'll do anything but that, right? She does not want to do anything that she's told to do. So that's what rooted her to be an entrepreneur and kind of work for herself. She's done that since college. She's a graphic designer and has always had her own business. But however, me, I enjoyed real estate. And at a time when real estate really wasn't kind of available because of COVID and everything, we started to do this mobile coffee thing. And, my wife being this entrepreneur, buck the system type personality, she finally convinced me one day. She was like, hey, I know you got this really cool cushion job that you make good money. You don't have to do much at, but I need you to leave that and come risk it all and go full time with me to grow this dream. And, that was about, I think, a year ago. Well, not quite a year. Somewhat close to a year that I completely left everything and went full blown entrepreneur.
Wow. I mean, that's awesome that one, you had the faith in it but two, that she had that drive and that push. I mean, that's a team right there. I mean, having faith in her and her dream, and then her having faith in, you know, your guys' ability to tag team this and kill it. That's honestly, that's amazing. I commend you guys for that. You know, a lot of people aren't willing to take that risk, let alone both people in the relationship jump full board and basically burn the boats and go all in. So like, kudos to you guys. That's amazing. So with that being said, her wanting to do the coffee thing, how was that inspired? Like, are you guys just coffee lovers? Like, because going from the occupational like safety like to coffee, unless like, you know, you just saw everyone drinking coffee on the job and that's what gave you the idea, like, how did that all come about?
Yeah. So, I mean, kind of going back, we had, first of all, she's never drunk any coffee in her entire life, like not even the gas station or at home at grandma's house or whatever. She's never drunk coffee, right? I think until 2 years ago is when we kind of fully started this project. That was the first time that she ever drank coffee. But the way that we kind of got into it is we learned that real estate was an asset that we wanted to acquire and, you know, hold and be a part of our portfolio. We, you know, started getting a few rental properties and getting into that game, and we was like, man, this is great. This is what I want to do. We had no desire to do anything else. That was kind of just an investment for us. And like I said, during COVID, I think this was like 2021, about a year after COVID, and the real estate market, there was just no housing to be found at the price point we were looking at them. Because what we would do is we would go into these like smaller towns and we would buy a distressed property for 60 grand or something like that, and put a little money into it and then flip it or sell it, or hold it. And there was none of those properties that met our budget. So what we started thinking and brainstorming is like, okay, well, we have this capital. We had just sold a property and was like, where can we put it? What vehicle can we put it in that gets us that type of return? And at that time, our goal was just to, hey, go park this, let's say 30, 40 grand and get $1,000 a month, right? So that was kind of our metric and our number at that time. It was like, man, let's do food trucks. And there was a few of those in our areas. And then as we start doing our due diligence and our research on the food truck industry, it was like, man, you know what? There's no coffee trucks or trailers around here. Let's do that. And it got my wife a little more excited because even though she's not a coffee person, she is phenomenal when it comes to photography and marketing and graphic design. So she was like, man, she was actually at the time, you know, taking pictures for other small business owners and kind of helping them grow their brand. She was like, I think this would be something that I enjoy. So it kind of started checking multiple boxes for us. So that's kind of how we got into it. We was like, all right, well, we're going to go all in on the investment side, not, you know, staffing it or running it. It was always a part-time gig. You know, we was going to do events on the weekends, maybe get a high schooler to run it when we're, you know, not there during the week for a few hours a day. And then once we seen the numbers and basically the opportunity after getting into it, then that's when we started refocusing our mind. Hey, maybe we need to pour a little more gas to this fire, right? So that's kind of how that all came about.
I mean, that's awesome. And now you guys even have like your own coffee line and stuff like that, right?
Yeah, definitely. It's basically evolved, right? We have our own coffee line. We started franchising. I mean, anytime that we're thinking about a business that we're 100% focused on, we're trying to figure out, okay, that be our umbrella. How many silos can I build inside that umbrella to ultimately create revenue on things that I would pay for anyway? So launching our own coffee brand just made sense.
And honestly, like when you sent it over, like it's actually really good. So, you know,
Yeah.
I'll definitely put a link in the bio for that one if you guys need some bomb coffee. I mean, I use it. I'm not sure if you're supposed to use it in the French press, but I use it in the French press and it was amazing. So make sure you guys grab some grit and grind coffee. I mean, I think that's one of the reasons that we really connected alongside of our, you know, love for fitness in Dallas. It was we didn't even know we were both in like the same franchising space initially. We just started working out and then asking what each other were doing at this networking event for real business owners. And then all of a sudden I told you about, the Strive franchise. And then you're like, that's crazy. Like, I'm actually in a franchise too. And I was like, dude, like, you do not just meet people that are launching franchises like that. So I think that's, one of the reasons we really kicked it off. And, it's amazing, honestly, to see you guys continue to grow and how we go back and forth and, kind of brainstorm. It's amazing. So with that being said, like, let's tie, before we keep going into the business, how has your guys' mindset been changed from having that steady paycheck to now, or at least along the journey of till now, right? Because not having that steady paycheck and burning the boats, it can be stressful. It can be kind of scary. What were some of those battles in your mind that you were dealing with because you left that stable job?
Yeah, I think for me and my wife, we've been through a lot of, I guess, trials in our life. And it's something that we consider an asset. It allows, I feel like entrepreneur is all about risk, right? And if you want to have more of that risk, you're going to base that on your experiences and how did they go? And, what were the outcomes of all of those? So for us, we've I guess, a life hack, right? We've been to the bottom and lost everything. We both kind of grew up, middle class, but as we were growing up, we had some poor decisions that we made in our life that we kind of lost everything and then rebuilt it from there. So the risk factor for us is, I believe, less, and we're, I guess, more comfortable risking it all on something that we believe in. Now, granted, we do our due diligence, and that was another key part of it, is we did our homework. We made sure that all the boxes were checked. And then from there, we was like, okay, well, if we do risk everything, can we rebuild it again? The answer is yes, right? So it was us doing our due diligence and then also knowing that it's not the end of the world if I do lose, right? Am I willing to go all in? And once I identified the answer was yes, I am willing to go all in, it's like, okay, then burn the boats, right? Because I don't need to have that exit strategy, because when things get hard, I am going to kind of, start stepping back. And that's not what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to go all in to make sure that I'm successful.
That's amazing. That's powerful right there. I think that it's one of those things where if you have that exit strategy, or if you're kind of half in, half out, and like you said, when things do get hard, you start to shy away, like you're saying, versus to be successful, that's when you have to like double down, right? Like through those tough times, as scary as it is, that's when it's like, okay, like I'm in this. And I think that's where people, like you said, get worried that, okay, well, what happens if it fails, right? What happens? What is it going to be the end of the world? It's like you have to reshift your perspective and be like, what happens if it turns out better than you can even imagine? Right?
Yeah.
You're only thinking about the negative aspect. Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's the thing, is like you have to take the risk. Like you have to play the game in order to win. You don't play, you don't win, right?
Right.
So with that being said, and you guys have kids as well, right?
Yeah, we have one. He's 15. Crazy thing is like basically his entire life, as his father, I kind of like say little things or, just check him in the hallway just to let him know who's boss, right? And the other day I was walking in the hallway and I checked him. I gave him a little, shoulder bump, and he didn't move. I was like, wow, he's actually getting taller than me. So, yeah.
That's awesome. I mean, like, I want to touch base on that, because not only did you and Destiny like just dive all in, and you guys, let's say, being a new couple, or a couple with no kids, like you guys are parents, right? I mean, I'm saying, like, I have a 2-year-old, right? And it's one of those things where I think that that's where a lot of people hesitate, and they stick with that comfort because they're like, well, I have a family, I have a kid. And so what would your advice be to someone that wants to take that entrepreneurial jump like you guys did, but they're worried about, their security and stuff like that with, having a family?
So a few things. One is, again, whatever decision you're trying to make in life, do your research, do your due diligence, right? And then trust yourself. And that will allow you to make a more sound decision. For us, it's being super transparent, right? I mean, like I said, my kid's 15, and ever since he's been, I don't know, maybe 11 or 12, we've had a really, really super transparent relationship. And it's basically sitting him down and saying, hey, Braden, look, this is what we're thinking about doing. And here's why. Almost like I'm going to an investment banker or something, right? And I've got my whole business plan. I'm sitting down with my kid and going over that, like, hey, this is going to work like this. And then this is going to be the reward for us taking this risk. I mean, you get uncomfortable and it's going to allow you to grow, right? And it's one of the hacks. I mean, basically for me, as a person, I feel like I've allowed myself to level up so much because I figured out a few small life hacks, and that is being one of them. You know, if I'm comfortable, I know I'm not growing. So get uncomfortable. And those are the same things that I'm telling my kid. Now, of course, you want them to be on the same page, but at the same time, I know that I've done more research, studied the market, just kind of like vetted the whole deal more than my kid is, right? So I know that I'm not just going to solely rely on his response or emotions. I'm going to trust my decision that I made, but I'm also going to bring him and let him be a part of the plan.
No, I think that's super important, especially, I mean, he's a little bit older, so he understands what's going on. And I feel, even though he may not show it, again, I don't know how, what he says or how he says it, but even though he doesn't show it, I think you're teaching him life skills that not a lot of kids get to see and learn. And life hacks, like you're saying, you can change course at any time. You can reinvent yourself at any time. Like, yes, the only thing that holds you back is you, right? His whole childhood, he knew you to have a steady job and to be a W-2 employee. And then all of a sudden, you and your wife are like, we have this dream, we have this vision, like, we're going to go for it. And then not just doing it, but showing him and explaining it to him. So yeah, he may not know all the due diligence and stuff like that, but he's seeing the overall key topics of life, that you have to go after your dreams and your passions, and basically if other people have done it, you can do it, right? If other people have launched a business, you can launch it. You can do whatever you put your mind to, but you have to put your mind to it. So I think that's powerful, because honestly, a lot of people don't bring their family in. Like, even your guys are lucky enough that you guys are partners in your businesses and stuff like that. But husbands won't bring their wives in, or wives won't bring their husbands into their launch of their business and the stresses of business. And I feel like that puts a strain on it. And then you've kind of alleviated that bubble by bringing your kid into it and showing him, like, hey, like, almost like he's a part of the team, without having to know numbers and all that kind of stuff, right? But just showing them that he's actually a part of the team. Has he shown any interest in, running the business or being an entrepreneur because of your guys' change of course?
Man, so my kid he takes after his mother, right? And that's basically whatever we're doing, he wants to do the complete opposite, right? So he has shown a lot of interest in being an entrepreneur. He has a Shopify store. He's all about making his own money, but he doesn't want to make his money the same way his parents are making their money, So like he knows how to make his own coffee, and like he can dial in the espresso machine, which most people can't do technical stuff like that. But as far as being in there and having any like type of desire to work it, he's like, nah, I'm going to do my own thing. And I think it's a competitive thing, right? I believe that my kid's competing against me just because, and he doesn't say it, right? He's like, I'm going to go make more money than y'all are, and that's just the metric we're going to gauge it by.
No, that's awesome though. And I think that feeds back into what we were saying. Like, you're showing him, you've been instilling in him that he could do whatever he wants, right? And instead of some kids, when their parents build a business, they get this sense of entitlement, and all of a sudden they're like, I'm set up, like, I'm going to take over the family business one day, and that whole mindset. But you've been instilling in him directly and indirectly that, you can do anything in life, right? Whether he wants to run that business or not later on, like, that's always an option, but he knows that he can do what he wants to do, and you guys are going to back them. So I think that's really powerful. And that's really powerful as parents that you guys are doing. So that's awesome.
Yeah,
So
I think for bringing your kids in, your family in is so important because I've been on both sides of it. Like I used to work in law enforcement as a police officer, and you were always trained to leave that stuff at the gate, right? Leave it at work because you don't want to bring all of that home to your family. So at a young age, that's what I was instilled, right? And it was always kind of like us doing a separate thing. My wife, my kid, me, all trying not to bring any negativity or anything like that into the household. But as we've started this business, I've learned something new and it's changed my perspective. And that is whenever you can do life together, business together, then it just brings you closer, right? So I've had it both ways. I've kept them away from the things that I've done, and then I brought them in. And I can tell you that our bonds have strengthened by having them more involved in the things that I'm doing. Because, when we're having a bad day or something's not going right at work, we're all kind of, carrying that burden together.
no, definitely. No, and I get it. I mean, I feel like law enforcement, my dad was a law enforcement officer, all my life. And I think there might be certain fields that, you don't want to bring some things back into the house and not be an open book to a full degree. And even for the entrepreneurs or people aspiring to be an entrepreneur, that you don't want to let your significant other or kids in on every little problem and every little detail, because you don't want to create extra stress. But at the same time, if you don't bring anything and open up anything, now you're not creating a sense of team and a sense of like bond with them. So there has to be that even ground. And I think that, that's kind of what you're doing with you and Destiny are doing with, your son. It's like, you're not showing him everything and all the stresses, but you're giving him enough to paint a picture of what's going on and letting it kind of ride from there.
For sure.
So I want to touch base into your fitness, right? You're in Destiny's Fitness. You guys are part of that like 5 a.m. club or 4 a.m. club, I see daily. How is your guys' fitness? Have you always been physically active? Like, how is that started?
Yeah. So I guess growing up, we were both athletes. We played, she played softball. I played football, basketball, baseball, just kind of competitive by nature. And that lasted all the way until we've been together since middle school. So, I mean, like we've been together for a long time. After high school, we had a kid, we became adults, and like fitness and those type of things just aren't important at that time. And that was kind of around the time where my whole life kind of took a turn on getting hooked on pain medicine and things like that. So I went from, I think I walk around about like 180, 175, and I blew up to like 260, 265. So about 100 pounds more than I currently am now. Stayed that way for about 5 years. Kind of turned everything around and figured out that fitness is almost like a drug to me, right? It's something that I see tons of positive benefits from, and I am kind of like it consumes me, and I want to participate in it and daily, right? So that happened about 10 years ago. And then once we started, well, that's kind of when that process started. But as it started, we started realizing all of these positive things that it brought to our lives. And we were like, man, I don't want to lose this, because again, everyone bases their decisions on their experiences. And if my prior experiences showed me who I was that I did not like when I wasn't participating in these things like fitness, I'm like, I've been there. I don't want to go back there, right? So that's why I think that it's so important for me and Destiny to get up and have a routine and focus on our fitness. Like I said, it's just something that brings us joy, not while we're doing it, right? It sucks. It's painful normally when I'm doing burpees at 5 a.m. It's like, who wants to really be doing burpees at 5 a.m.? Like anybody who says that they do is a liar, but it brings so much joy to my life because of the positive benefits that I have. I remember sitting in my chair and my back would have like aches in it. And I'm like, I'm not even doing nothing. I'm just sitting here, right? And that was because I was never doing any stretching, never doing anything physical. I was always drained and depleted, and my energy levels were really low. But now that I go and do these hard things at 5 a.m. in the morning and I focus on them, I don't have those aches and pains that are from not doing anything. And then I also have this energy that I genuinely enjoy.
No, that's awesome. So two parts before we jump into the addiction thing that you mentioned. Um, or does your son work out with you guys at all ever?
So basically, right now, I mean, he normally does. Yes. Like the other day, he went and worked out with us, but he has a lot of extra activities, sports, and things like that, that sometimes he's not as consistent as we are going to the gym, but he definitely does like football training. He's like, Dad, I just got done with football training. I don't want to go to the gym too. So he's not on the 2-a-days with us.
And waking up a 15-year-old at 5 a.m. to go work out or 4 a.m. to go work out is probably not the easiest either.
Right.
So the second part to that is, how do you feel that working out affects your mindset or your mental clarity with business?
Man, I always draw on me going through the workout probably that day or the day before. I'm like, man, I remember doing that 2,000-meter row and getting to 1,000 meters and wanting to quit, but not quitting. And then that teaching myself, hey, you're not going to die. Just keep going. And I apply that to business, right? Because all my labor will call in and I have to go and fill in a shift. I still got to make all of the Zoom calls. I've got to put out fires as a franchisor. You know that you're kind of like, the fire extinguisher. So I'm putting out fire extinguishers for other people's business inside my business. So it's like all these things start compounding. And then I think back, man, that workout this morning, that sucked too, but I made it through. And then it just gives me more motivation and I keep going.
No, that's awesome. So rewinding back to your quick mention of, the pain medication, like how did that start and how did that lead? That what happened and what was that instance?
Yeah, so I basically said I was a police officer at one time, and I went from police officer to junkie, like really fast. But like as I was growing up, I had a biological father that was not in my life, and he was addicted to drugs, never kind of there. And so I grew up with this mentality that drugs are evil. They are the devil. It's the worst thing in this world. I will never do those things. Hence why I kind of focused my lifetime career towards law enforcement. I was trying to be completely opposite of what my father was, right? So I go into this mindset of doing that. But at the same time, I had hobbies, right? And that hobby was motorcycle freestyle. I was really heavily into motorcycles at the time. And I actually experienced a motorcycle accident. And whenever that happened, I went to the doctor and the doctor started putting me on pain medicine. Now, basically, I also grew up with this kind of perception that, hey, doctors are the good guys, right? They're the ones there to help you. There's nothing like this could ever happen if someone like a doctor is giving it to you. So, like I said, I kind of went from being a police officer to a junkie really fast because I have a highly addictive personality. And once I started getting put on these pain medicines, I just wanted more and more and more and just started chasing this feeling. And then pain medicines eventually ran out and I lost my job at the police department because I'm falling asleep, typing reports at the police department. So after that transition, I got hooked on heroin and then it just started spiraling like crazy downwards. And that lasted about 5 years until I woke up and was like, you know what? I don't like this person in the mirror. This person in the mirror sucks. I don't want to be them anymore.
And so when that day that you said you woke up and you kind of changed gears, was there an event that happened, or was it just one day you just were like, you know what, I'm over it? What was that thing that happened that helped you kind of realize that you don't want to do this anymore?
I wouldn't say it was one event or one day. It was multiple days compounding. And it was whenever you become sober and you come out of this fog and this haze and it lifts and you run out of the pain medicine or the drug, you start to get a sense of clarity. And then in that moment, you start thinking about all of the actions that you've done, all of the lies and the manipulation and just things that did not bring anything that was meaningful and purposeful to your life. And it starts to weigh on you and beat you down. And the only way to escape that is to go get high again. And there was enough of those times to where I come out of that fog and that haze, and I'm looking at my wife and my kid, and I'm like, I can't believe that I'd done this again. So it was just multiple times of me getting tired of my crap and realizing, you know what, I've got to make a change. It didn't happen just at once, right? Basically, I tried and failed probably 100 times. I would literally get whatever I had, go to the bathroom, flush it down the toilet. And I'm like, I'm never doing this again. Well, that didn't work most of the time, but eventually it did. But I was just like on this relentless path to get better, to get clean. And it just took multiple times of me just keep trying the same thing over and over.
No, I mean, that's awesome. And I mean, I have, family members, my mom was an addict, when she was with us, and it was one of those things where hers was alcohol and stuff, but it's definitely hard. So, I mean, honestly, I commend you for, overcoming that and honestly becoming who you are now. Like meeting you, and even till now, like I would have never even have known that, right? Like you don't give that vibe, and that's not what you're all about. But having that personality that you have where there is no plan B, like your goal was to change and it didn't work out the first time, the second time, whatever, but you knew you wanted to change, just like you knew you wanted to launch the business. It's one of those things where that's just the personality type that you have. So, I mean, honestly, there was no doubt there, or at least there should have been no doubt that if you wanted to change, you would change. Because I see that in you, whether you see it or not. Like you have the personality. If you say you're going to do something, I know that you're going to end up doing it. It's not like a matter of if, it's just a matter of when, right?
Right. Appreciate that.
So, no, of course. So what's your and Destiny's, next step? What are you guys, getting into next?
Yeah, so basically right now we're looking to grow our franchising model business. We're doing some really cool things. Of course, we're always continuing to do the real estate, and we have this city that is kind of local to us that we're looking to partner and do a housing project. So that's going to be really fun. Again, like real estate is just really, it's something that I have a lot of joy whenever I start doing it, just building, creating things. I've always been the type where, hey, I'll go do something. When I master it, I'm like, okay, I'm done with this toy. I want to go do another one. But real estate has allowed me to go build this house and this project and has a new design, and then go do something completely different in the same space. So we're working on one of those projects, but also we're looking to build headquarters for our franchise model. It's going to be like our flagship, and it's going to have a lot of really cool things. You'll have to come down because we're building a gym inside of there. So we're super excited about that. It's going to be where all of our franchises comes to train. We do all of that type of business. It's also going to have its own standalone coffee shop in there, gym. So we're really, really super excited about that project. But those are the two big things that are going on right now, is building that flagship store and it be kind of headquarters where we can start servicing and training all of our franchise locations, and then also that cool real estate project. We're down here in South Alabama, so a lot of the things that you see over in California and other places on the West Coast, like these modern style houses, we don't have many of those. Everything's kind of like still contemporary 2008. So we're bringing this like modern vibe to this housing project, and we're super excited to launch it here in this area because it's going to be kind of one of the first ones that are around any of the surrounding cities.
No, that's awesome. I mean, yes, of course, you already know I'm there, and I would love to check it out and get a workout in. I know about 5 a.m. Your 5 a.m. is a little bit earlier than my 5 a.m., but we'll make it work.
We'll work around it.
No, definitely. So with that being said, and with your guys' stuff, I want to kind of dive into grit and grind a little bit. You guys have the mobile coffee shops, but I've seen you guys have some actual store locations. Dive into like the different models real quick, so that if someone is interested in learning a little bit more about grit and grind and opening up a coffee franchise, that they can definitely reach out.
Yeah, for sure. So we started out in the mobile coffee trailers, right? And we are firm believers on anything that we invest in. We're trying to prove concept. We're trying to do like due diligence and then due diligence at another level, right? So that's what led us to get into the mobile coffee trailers, is because we was like, hey, it's going to cost us roughly 150, 170 grand to get started in this brick and mortar. We can come over here for about 50,000 and do a trailer. We can prove our concept, build up our clientele, all of those things. So that's why we went with the mobile trailer. There's pros and cons in everything you do, right? So the mobile trailers, all of the pain points and cons led us to build the brick and mortars and the shops. And then just simple things like not having to have a commercial kitchen to operate out of someone else's commissary. Then all of our products being stored. Where are you going to put those? We're going to put those in our garage for right now. Well, all of those pain points, we was like, let's go and open up the coffee shop after we already proved our concept. And so that's what we did. And the coffee shops are great because it checks the even more boxes for us. What we wanted to do is create this space where people that were like-minded, entrepreneurs, just kind of wanting somewhere to go and hang out and fellowship and connect with other entrepreneurs. And I believe that our brand has really kind of like set themselves apart for a few things. One is customer service. We tell all of our people when we come in and we train, it was like, if you want to know how you need to perform at our business, go through the Chick-fil-A drive-through line, right? Just go spin around, order you some food. Like, customer service needs to be number one. I want to sell a good product, but customer service is going to come before the product. We have a fire product, but all of our locations and owners and the people that we have attracted, basically, we have this screening process. We've kind of come to the conclusion we don't want to just collect money from someone. We want to build a community of like-minded people that also have that servant heart, that's just really trying to put light out into the world, right? If you're not vibing like that and your energy does not show that, then you're not the right fit for us.
No, I agree with you 1,000%. And honestly, that's the same mission that we have here, with Strive. I've already dropped some candidates and been like, look, I'm sorry, I just don't think we're the right fit for you. Right. Yes,
Right.
it's a business, but your mission similar to mine. And I think that's why one of the other reasons we connect is like, we're trying to have a positive impact on people. Like, yes, we're trying to, provide an awesome product, but the product is the product. Like, we're here to serve people, right? And create that community for others to grow within as well. So that's awesome. Have you guys ever thought about doing do you guys have Starbucks out there?
We do. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the only reason I mention that is because your guys' mobile coffee shop has also led me to another idea that I'll talk to you about, off air and stuff with Strive. But one of the other things I was thinking of, I saw the other day was like coffee shops in like Vaughn's, or I don't know what grocery stores you guys have out there, but like, have you ever walked into a grocery store and then all of a sudden there's like a kiosk that's a separate business within a business?
Right. Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Is that something that you guys might, kind of expand into?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, for us, I think we like more of those collaboration style partnerships, you know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, let's say you got a fitness business and I've got a coffee shop, and that we think that our ideal client ultimately loves fitness and they love coffee. Why wouldn't I come together and us try to create this really awesome space for us both to benefit? And then we're also both kind of like sharing that workload of launching that and everything else. I like those type of ideas way better than I like going and build my own coffee shop just in, wherever.
I see what you tried to do. I see what you
Yeah.
did there. The grit and grind and strive collaboration. I got you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you guys do so? You guys do coffee? I've seen some of the shakes and stuff from some of your locations post and stuff like that. do you guys do, since you guys are into fitness and, I get the grind part of the grit and grind, but like the grit part within your love for fitness, do you guys do like coffee protein shakes or, any of those kind of smoothies as well? Is it strictly just like coffee and smoothies and stuff like that?
Yeah, so my wife, going back to her not being, she's the one who comes up with the menu, right? And kind of does all of those things. And her not being a coffee lover, we definitely have this whole other piece to the menu that she wanted to create because she didn't want to be exclusive to coffee people. She was trying to reach not only coffee people, but the people like she was before she started this business. So we have iced coffees, hot coffees, coffee shakes, frappes. Then we have this other menu that has acai bowls, lemonades, and like our lemonades and other products, we try to pride ourselves because we have things that don't have like red 40 in them. And we try to spend a little bit more money to have something a little more natural that's better for the customer, but we don't sacrifice quality trying to make the product better for the customer. So we're thinking like that and trying to create things that's not just exclusively, we want anybody who walks up, it doesn't matter if you're a coffee, caffeine person, whoever, that you have something that you're able to purchase and we have that, share that experience together.
No, definitely. Well, we'll have to talk more about that, as well as some other ideas like we always do. But before we go, I want you to, if you had to leave, let's say, hypothetically speaking, all your businesses and everything is, wiped away. If you had like one message that you could leave for the world, what would that message be?
Man, I think it's just the way that I live, and it's if whatever you put out into the world is what you're going to get back, right? I remember at one time, whenever I was in a dark place and I was doing addiction, I was hanging out with a certain crowd of people, and that's when I would have things stolen or I would be in jail or whatever negative that was happening to me is the people that I was surrounding myself with and what I was putting back into society. But ever since I've changed my life and the way that I try to carry myself, if someone's pulled over on the side of the road and they're changing a tire, I'm going to try to stop, not because I need recognition, just because I want to help somebody, right? And if you do those type of acts, it comes back to you. That's all I see. That's all I'm surrounding myself with. So whatever I'm putting out into the world is coming back to me. So just put out light, love others.
That's awesome. Well, where can people connect with you or learn about, Grit and Grind coffee? Obviously, I'll put it in the show notes as well. But, if you want to mention that real quick.
Yeah, so we have websites called gritandgrind.coffee. You go there and connect with us and see what all we're doing. Also, our social media pages, Instagram, I think it's gritandgrind_coffee. So you can connect with us there. Just reach out anytime anybody has anything. We'd love to connect.
Well, Eric, thank you so much for coming on today. And we'll definitely have to catch up soon. And then everyone listening in right now, make sure you guys share this with a friend. There was a lot of knowledge on different aspects from mindset to business to, addiction to everything. But make sure you guys share it, and leave that review because that's what helps us keep going. But Eric, thank you so much for coming on today.
Yeah, thanks, bro.